After they took the entire design and requirements apart, they applied the top X approach, better known as the 80-20 rule. 20% of the parts determine 80% of the product. So focus on that 20%. The rest either comes later, is outsourced, or can be purchased directly. When the additive industries team identified everything they wanted to outsource, they did not start to look for parts and who could supply those. Instead, they started creating supplier profiles. Compare this to job profiles if you're hiring, of the ideal supplier that could deliver them the functional modules they needed. The approach came from Daan's first startup, comakers.com, a purchasing market intelligence firm and subcontracting platform. Based on these created profiles, they selected 3 first-tier system suppliers per module and asked them to pitch for the team. This was, and still is, rather uncommon in that business. However, it shows a serious level of commitment, professionality and out-of-the-box thinking, which are good factors to attract potential partners. In the end, they selected 15 suppliers for their collaboration. Next, they went into a deep discussion with each separate supplier on what they needed to be developed and built by that supplier. But wait, first-tier supplier? Let's grab that value chain picture again. At the bottom you can see your first-tier supplier. Second-tier suppliers are the suppliers of your suppliers, and third-tier suppliers of the suppliers of your suppliers. Okay, so you might wonder, what does such a profile look like? You might have heard of QLTC, which stands for Quality, Logistics, Technology and Cost. These are the main factors you use to profile your suppliers. We think, however, that this misses at least 2 important qualifiers: sustainability and organizational fit. So, QLTC, SO. Let's have a better look at this. First, quality and ICT requirements. This outlines the quality standards expected from suppliers, for example, implemented ISO standards, but also ICT tools they use for digital compatibility. Think of CAD/CAM exchanges. Logistics and references. This describes logistical capabilities and describes whether there are specific companies the supplier should or should not work with. So a description of second and third tier suppliers. Technology. This covers various manufacturing competences, processing techniques and the types of materials a supplier should be able to deal with. Here you can think of molding or forming techniques and materials ranging from woods to plastics to a wide range of metals and alloys. But also, of course, their capability to innovate, the in-house knowledge, their culture to collaborate and experience with similar types of equipment. Cost. Probably one of the first things you think of, and although it is important, don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Note that this is not only about the cost of goods, but also includes the total cost involved in the outsourcing. The best overall cost is found in a great match, combined with the purchasing volume of the supplier you can piggyback on. Sustainability, a vital aspect these days. How sustainable are your suppliers and their suppliers? Finally, organizational fit. This details the desired characteristic of the supplier, such as size, turnover, number of employees, management and organization, business model fit, and preferred region. This should correspond with the expected order size you expect to demand in the future. Be really thoughtful of these requirements. For additive industries, it was vital that all suppliers were in close proximity. If not only to go over there and help fix stuff, or to have them come over for the sometimes weekly or monthly meeting. The required ISOs are also vital, as some things simply have to comply to these. If you have to do this after the first product is ready, you might face a partial or complete redesign. But also the purchases volume matters. On the one hand, you do not want to become responsible for more than 25% of the supplier's turnover, as this will lead to an unhealthy dependence with that an additional risk for your company. On the other hand, you do want to be significant enough to that company, which is ideally no less than 5%, else you simply don't get the attention and, more importantly, priority you so desperately need. For early stage hardware startup, your sweet spot lies in the 5 to 10% area. ASML has long applied the max 25% of revenue rule for their suppliers. Above 25% contracts concerning IP and risk reward become increasingly important. And that concludes this video on finding the right partners. Next one is on managing the relationship.